Hi, so my name is Stevie Schmidt, and I'm the current project leader for Unloop. And let me just introduce my team this semester. Our designer was Jolene, and we had 5 developers: Arian, Julian, Calvin, Christopher, and Kyle. In case you don't know, this has been a 2-semester project. So let me just introduce my team from last semester. So the project leader was Allison, and the designer was the same, Jolene. And we had 4 developers, including myself, Aaron, Fred, and Julian. So we've been working on this for quite a while, and I'm really excited to show you guys what we've achieved after a full year. But before I do that, let me just give you an overview of who Unloop is, and what app we're building for them, and what Unloop is going to use this for. So a little bit of background about Unloop and the problem they're trying to solve is there are 2.3 million people that are held in the American criminal justice system. 650,000 people are released from the prison in the United States each year, and 66% of these prisoners are rearrested within 3 years. So the solution to this problem that Unloop has come up with is finding these people steady careers in computer science through education and through providing them different career opportunities and supporting them as they try and kind of re-enter the world and enter a career in computer science. So what are we doing for them? By Blueprint. So we are building them an internal tool which will help them streamline a lot of processes internally and help them communicate with participants a lot easier so that they can do their job but quicker and easier and not have to have all this overhead of different organizational techniques, like sending them a bunch of paperwork and maybe this gets lost between each participant. So essentially this app is a one-stop shop for all the internal processes that Unloop is going to be doing. So let me just give you an overview of the app that we've built this year. So I'm just going to go here and give you guys a demo. This is the main dashboard that all of the staff members will see. It has all the different participants in the program. You can search through and find different people, and you can assign them either paperwork or case notes. So I'll explain a little bit of what these are. These are features from previous semester where you can add different links for participants to see, so they'll see this on their end, and then a staff member can verify that they've looked at it. And then case notes are kind of internal notes that a staff member would keep on each participant so that all of the different Unloop staff can keep track of information about different participants. And then as well, we have this lovely bulk assign section. This is one of the newest features that we've built this semester. So this is assigning different assignments to participants. And we also have our studio assessments page, which is also a new feature this semester. And I'll have my devs talk a little bit about that later. So now that I've given you guys a little bit of an overview of our app, I'm going to walk you guys through what we're going to be telling you about in this presentation. So essentially, we've kind of reflected and realized that this semester, the biggest thing that we've been thinking about is the future, because ultimately at the end of this, we are handing this app off to Unloop, and they're going to be using this as their internal tool. So we need to make sure that our app is robust, and we've made good design choices so that our app is not just taking up a lot of time for all of the staff members and participants, and it's actually helping Unloop. So this manifested in a couple different ways. The first being scoping features, so figuring out what exactly would be the most helpful feature, and then creating 2 new features from this, so assignments and studio assessments. And this also came to fruition through improving existing features that we had made from last semester, so improving questionnaires and then doing everything that we need for a handoff, because ultimately this is very important if we're going to ensure that this app is used in the future. So now I'm going to hand this off to Jolene, and she's going to talk about the very first point, which is scoping features.
Okay, awesome. So continuing on from what DV was saying about looking towards the future, this semester we really focused on developing features that would promote participant success in the long run. At the beginning of the semester, when we were deciding what to develop, we wanted to be very intentional about everything that we were building and ensuring that it would bring value to Unloop. One example of this is this wellness wheel that we initially scoped out to be a visual representation of progress and well-being based on things like completion of action items and test scores. However, after further conversations with Unloop, and specifically with Marilyn, who is their new student success manager, we learned that these were not actually metrics that they felt like they could utilize very effectively. Rather, they could tell a lot more about a participant's wellness and well-being through a single phone call or conversation rather than this entire dashboard. Additionally, which I thought was interesting, is they didn't want to promote any kind of unhealthy comparisons or competition between participants because they were all coming from such different backgrounds and skill levels. With all of this in mind, we decided to focus on building other features that fit more seamlessly into Unloop's workflow and would bring them a lot of utility in the long run. To do this, we first started off by trying to understand their current workflows and processes, and we worked with Misha, their Director of Curriculum, Marilyn, and Troy, their Community Engagement Manager, to understand how Unloop currently uses assignments, which ended up being one of the key features that we developed this semester. Assignments for Unloop fall under a broad range of categories, such as health, including doctor, dentist, and therapy appointments, financial wellness classes, community engagement events, and treatment that they have to undergo. What Unloop needs is a flexible way to quickly assign these tasks to large groups of students without a bunch of repetitive work. Their current processes include using text messaging, email, Google Drive, and many different platforms to manage these communications and deadlines, which, as you can imagine, results in a lot of manual, repetitive work and a lot of time that they could use on further encouraging participant success instead. This is where our bulk assignment page comes in. This is an assignment system that works specifically for Unloop's needs, allowing them to create and assign action items based on categories, such as financial, treatment, health, or education, and they can save these action items that they create as templates that they can reuse in the future, so they don't have to do all that repetitive work. They can then assign these action items to groups of students that they can curate based on their progress in the program or other criteria that they specify. Next, I'm going to hand it off to CJ to talk a little bit more about how we designed this and how we built this.
So another feature that we created this semester was the assignments modal, where instructors are able to assign various tasks to the participants. They're able to put each task into a certain category and then outline what the title is, description, giving the participant the ability to read what they need to complete for this upcoming tasks. Additionally, we created a button which adds certain tasks that are probably more recurring and happen more often throughout the program to a common assignments list, and that is a place where participants are able to view their tasks that happen the most often. So as you can see, we've created a assignment that outlines what a participant's favorite NBA player is. And let's say we add it to common assignments, and then we add it to the action item. We can see that it now populates the left-hand side of the modal, which is just a card outlining smaller details of what the assignment is. And if we go and look in the common assignments, we can see that because we click that common assignments button, it has appeared in the common assignments modal.
So building up the CJ, we really want a bulk assignment to be as streamlined as possible. And so what that meant was that we wanted to ease the staff experience throughout this process by allowing a task to be mass assigned to as many students as possible. And so what that meant was, once you selected all your different action items, once you get to this second page, you would be able to see a drop down of all these different student names, where you'd be able to filter by these categories and filter by your search to be able to find which participants you exactly want these action items to be assigned to. And so that meant enabling so many more participants to be engaged at once, so that when you save and continue, and when you do actually assign all these different action items, this will significantly decrease the amount of burden on the staff. And so what we also wanted to discuss was how can we make sure the participants are equally as engaged throughout this process. And so what we needed to do was we developed a homepage for all these different components and features we've developed to kind of exist in one hub for these participants to kind of view and engage with. And so we knew we wanted this kind of platform to encourage this increased transparency of tasks and assessments, strengthen that connection between the staff and participants, and hopefully increase participation and engagement as well. And so we knew throughout this entire process that it was very important for communication and visibility to be as clear as possible. And so that's what we kept in mind as we continued developing the dashboard. And so as you can see from this next GIF, you can actually see a lot of these different components in action, whether that be paperwork, case notes, assignments, or studio assessments. This entire layout kind of enables different participants to see exactly what's going on in their dashboard.
Alrighty. Lastly, one of the new features we implemented this semester are studio assessments. And what studio assessments essentially are is they are a collection of ratings and notes. So throughout the program, the staff members need to have the ability to kind of quickly see where their participants are in their learning. And in order to do that, they assess them in 6 general skill areas like Node, React, Git, just general programming skills. So we want to provide them with an easy-to-use interface for quickly recording a participant skill in a particular area, where they're able to rate their skill on a scale of 1 to 3, as well as taking some quick notes. In addition, we wanted to kind of give them a dashboard where they could quickly search and filter studio assessments to their needs. So here's the studio assessment creation model, and it's divided up into 6 pages. Each page represents 1 skill area, and a page has a rubric to kind of gauge where the student is at, dial buttons to rate on scale of 1 to 3, as well as an area to leave a quick comment. And here's the studio assessments dashboard. It's a pretty standard dashboard. Here we have the ability to kind of filter and sort by categories. So as you can see, we just sorted the studio assessments by big picture from highest to lowest and lowest to highest. We also have the ability to quickly search through the participants as well.
Although we made a lot of new features this semester, we also wanted to improve the ones we made last semester to better meet Unloop's current user needs. For example, for questionnaires, during project scoping, Unloop listed things that would be helpful to track for each participant, which staff could then record with text fields. However, upon showing the app and our implementation to Unloop, we found the questionnaires and the fields discussed from summer weren't necessarily the exact same as what Unloop wanted to use now. We also ran into issues with the free range of text field responses, sometimes making records overly complicated or inconsistent for things like phone numbers. User testing proved to be a huge benefit in discovering things like this. We actually deployed the fall 2019 version of our app in December and had Unloop users test the app and give feedback. This gave a lot of useful pointers specifically for questionnaires. Upon user testing and actually seeing the app live, Unloop updated us with changes they wanted to the questionnaire and the rest of the app. The result is an updated questionnaire that's easier to use and more accurately reflects the participant information that Unloop staff tries to keep track of now. We also used user input options that made filling the questionnaire an easier process, such as a day picker for birth dates and radio buttons for questions that could be easily answered with a yes or a no, like if a participant completed a course. Now we realize this method could also be extended to the rest of our fall features as well. Our motivations laid in the fact that Unloop's needs and priorities discussed during scoping in summer wouldn't always be the same as they are now. Because of this, we wanted to regularly test our current features to test the app's ability to meet user needs. The user feedback we got from prototypes and testing our prototype version allowed us to understand how to improve the app. We then kept a lot of the notes onto a bug log, which we then used for the rest of the app this semester because of how applicable it was.
Okay, so we're going to wrap up with me talking about handoff and ideas about how to maximize handoff success. So let's go. So first thing I want to say is that I think it's really easy to get seduced into the idea that like more resources is always better. And I think that this is true up to a certain extent. But what I find is that like an overload of resources for someone trying to learn something can really be overwhelming for them. And it can become kind of like an obstacle itself, right? So what I want to advocate for in my very brief 2 minutes is really providing the NPO in our case, a select number of really high quality refined resources for them to use, right? And what this provides is exactly one ground truth for everything that they need to learn. So what I mean by that is, say for example, I'm like an admin and I want to learn some workflow for me to, for example, assign paperworks to some participant, right? So let's say I don't know how to do this. I know though that at the very least, there exists exactly one, at max two, like really well-written defined documents that after I read them and digest them, I will know how to do my workflow. And that's guaranteed in this case, right? And with this, like I can feel very comfortable like doing this job, right? So in order to like kind of accomplish constructing these kind of resources, the best thing to do, I think, is to ask your NPO what they want and to cater to those wants, right? Because at the end of the day, what we want is for our NPO to be comfortable enough using this product that they continue to use it, right? Best way to do that is to do what they want, right? Great. So I'm not saying that we should just make like one mode of guide for each thing, right? For the example of Unloop, we're making both like a visual walkthrough for each of like our workflows as well as a written workflow. Yeah, as well as like a written guide with pictures supplementing it. So you get kind of like a visual and a written resource for every kind of workflow. Cool. Next thing I want to talk about, and I'm running out of time, so I will do it really quickly, is that knowing who you're handing off to. So I'm going to just do this in the context of Unloop. So since Unloop is a really tech-centered nonprofit, like we're handing off to both developers and administrators, right? So we can assume at some point that the developers are going to like come across a bug or like want to add some feature. And in order to do that, they're going to dive into our code base. And at that point, it's therefore essential that like, along with those written and visual guides that I kind of like alluded to earlier, that we really like document our code base really nicely so that they can pick up on it and add to it really easily. But yeah, that's all I wanted to say.
Yeah, so just to wrap up, I'd like to thank all of my developers for working so hard this semester and making sure that we've built an incredible app. And I'd like to just thank all of you for watching. We put a lot of work into this and we love showing what we've been doing this semester. So thank you guys so much.